Hello, everybody.
Hi.
So today we're going to be talking about how to talk to a woman without being creepy.
Very important topic.
It really is. Although we do want to speak up because it is a faraway microphone.
Hello.
Yeah, like such.
We discovered my laptop doesn't have all the holes it's supposed to be, so.
I had a nickel.
All right, wow, we got three people already.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Jeremy says hi. Hi, Jeremy. We have to do this on our phones because we're so not technologically inclined on this.
I could have brought my desktop, 80 pounds, and sit right in the middle of the floor.
Your wifey?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's start out. Let's talk about introducing yourself.
Hi, I'm Kevin. Nice to meet you. Oh, not that kind. All right, sorry. This was a mistake to do this here. I'm just telling you right now. You're never going to want me back. You're going to be like, no. He's done. All right.
We've taken a vote and we voted off the island.
Kevin doesn't need this. Kevin's going to start his own role.
We replaced you.
Okay, so first let's talk about things that are good to do. So like do's. Start with something polite, like hello.
Hello.
My name's James. How are you?
It's fine. I'm right-handed, but we'll do this. Nice to meet you, James.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, make sure people actually know who you are because, for the love of God.
Yeah, it's good to start with your name.
It gets so awkward to ask someone's name mid-conversation. Like, no one wants to do that.
I mean, I have no awkward. I just go ahead and ask it, and then I ask it again about 6 more times
Because you're not going to remember.
Well, in all seriousness, the best way to do that is I found that if you introduce yourself, say, hi, I'm Kevin, like the natural response for the other human being is, hi, I'm, and just make a note of it, because I'm also very forgetful.
And then just be honest if you forget. I mean, oh, hey, I'm so sorry, I'm terrible at names. My name's James. What was yours again? I apologize.
Yeah.
And usually they'll have forgotten too. So it's helpful for them because they just didn't want to be the socially awkward one that brings up the name. Forgetting.
Yeah.
This is my strategy. So ask questions about our interests. Like if you know let's say or about that they have with them, they're doing something. Let's say they're playing their Nintendo or Switch. Ask questions about their games or
People love to talk about themselves. As someone who is really bad at starting conversations, you can pretty much talk about anything. There's a book that I read many years ago by Larry King called How to Talk About Anyone About Anything, and I would highly recommend it if you need something to read. But the easiest thing is always the weather. Sports, if they are a sports fan, which is kind of hit or miss, but I find if they are, that's really kind of nice. Like, hey, how about that local sports ball team?
Local sports ball team.
Obviously, stay away from the three no-nos, politics, religion, and I don't know what the third one is, but there's a third one. No, but someone will talk about themselves for days. Just ask them questions. Don't be creepy about it, obviously, but, just, hey, I don't know, I'm out of stuff.
So when you're doing compliments, compliment on things that the person chose. Like don't say it. Like it means a lot more when you're saying a compliment about, let's say they did a really cool style to their hair, or they dyed their hair a really pretty color, or they have this really cool outfit or shoes or something. Something that they chose is a lot more of a empowering compliment than just like, oh, hey, hottie. Like, like it. Oh my gosh, I love your hair. Where'd you get, or what dye did you use? Where'd you get it cut? Or, oh, those boots are awesome. Where'd you buy them? I love them. That sort of thing is a lot more likely to engage someone and also to make them feel more flattered.
For emphasis, going up to someone and, hey, nice tits, is almost guaranteed. In most cases, it ends right then and there. I'm sure they're already aware of how nice they are in doubt.
Yeah.
But like clothes, I don't know about you guys, but like when I pick clothes out, I am always about half the time worried about how the world perceives how I match things because I have no color coordination whatsoever.
I also saw a little clever play on it. Like if you do actually like want to say something nice about someone's eyes or their hair, you can say like, oh, the color of green in your dress goes really well with your eyes.
Yeah,
or something like that actually
Yeah.
makes it a lot nicer.
Yeah, I think the idea is like things like beauty they may or may not have control of, or something like their eye color. Like they were fucking born with that. They don't. That's not really a compliment per se. It's kind of like, hey, you know, congratulations on winning the genetic lottery.
Yeah.
The idea is, as James would say, to empower them. You know, pick something nice that they selected because that helps build confidence.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Ray's got something. What do you want, Ray?
Your makeup is so sophisticated.
Your makeup is so sophisticated is way better than nice rack. Yes, thank you.
Yes, yeah.
Now if it's like a spice rack though, like I love it when people compliment me on my spice rack, but I want to skip to something related to that.
Right.
On a note of personal choices, I don't know how many of you have been to a convention. Hygiene.
Yeah.
Oh.
I have been to conventions, and the amount of times I've had people come up to me and try to introduce themselves, like it's great and all, but I'm surrounded by 5,000 other sweaty people, and one more coming up to me is not going to catch my notice.
So I'm just gonna say off the bat, we had this conversation earlier in our group about like I feel like a lot of this just doesn't need to be said, but apparently it needs to be said. Men wear deodorant. It's like $2, and it's not expensive, and it goes a long way. It's like, yeah, I feel like it's common sense, guys. Don't be
So
stupid.
Corey had a
Yes, Corey
question.
has a question.
So if you're avoiding religion and politics for a while, when is it okay to bring that up? Because it does become relevant.
Good point.
I'd say if you notice that they're either if there's something you notice, like try and ease it in, I guess.
Yeah.
If there's a topic you're talking about and you can relate it to that in a way that's maybe not if you can relate it and it's something that's important for you to know, and also just give it time. And then
I would add two things. I would say there's easy ways to bring it up and not so easy ways. I know, Danielle, you sing in a choir, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Danielle may be talking about her activities, and she may mention, oh, I sing in a choir, and I can say, oh, that's interesting. What church do you go to? And blah, blah, blah. So there's organic ways it can come about. I would also say it's important to bring it up when it becomes relevant to the conversation. I matched on Tinder once with a woman, and I sent her a message and said, hey, I saw we matched. Nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. And her first words back to me were, I only date Christian monogamous men. So at that point, it became extremely relevant to tell her I'm neither monogamous nor Christian. So you obviously normally you don't want to do it that early, but the point I'm making is it was relevant at that point. So I would say when it becomes important to the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Panda Bear. She's watching now.
Oh, I meant to lose it.
Oh.
So Steph said it's much easier to find things to talk about with someone you don't know. There's a million things you could ask or talk about, which is a really good point.
Yeah.
There's a lot more avenues when you don't know a person because you haven't had any of those conversations.
Steph is also team pro deodorant. Yes.
Again, go to. Oh gosh, I'm gonna make myself look really sad. Go to something like BronyCon or something just one time, or any convention, Otakon. They're all the same. Like when a convention has to put out a warning saying, "Hey, attendees, deodorant is important."
Yes.
Because otherwise, I wouldn't think we'd have to talk about this. But
Yeah,
as someone who likes
yeah.
conventions, no, it needs talked about.
Deodorant is important. I would also add Axe body spray is not a replacement for showering.
No,
So, yeah.
That's
I mean, if you want to put Axe on, that's fine, but you should shower first, and then it should be both. It shouldn't be one or the other.
Also, again, introductions. I'm jumping around the list here. If you meet someone online, and you want to send a picture to open up, your genitals are not an acceptable thing. If you want to respond, send a picture of your pet. Like
That is a good replacement.
Pet pictures.
Ladies out there, I will always respond to cat pictures. And guys too, both. Yes, I love cat pictures. Please. That is how you get me. Just hook, line, and sinker. Cat pictures.
Accurate.
Okay.
accurate for me too.
This isn't the kind of thing you think should be said. A lot of you might find this as common sense. However, given the amount of pictures I see people posting online of what they get, it is not common sense.
No, it isn't. I understand that for a lot of people, yeah, it seems like it would be, but it's apparently not. So.
The other
So go ahead.
Okay, the other thing I would say, if we're talking about messaging online, one thing would be, like first messages, let's say on OkCupid or something. My strategy is compliment something in the profile. So like actually read the profile and then find something that you can relate to and mention that so they know that you read the profile and you actually are interested in them and not sending out a form letter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then maybe ask some questions like maybe something random and something related or something that they probably don't hear as often.
To James's point, I've been very guilty of this in the past. My dating profile responses have been very form letter-ish. So that's probably why I have had difficulties before, but I think I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I'm assuming for the women, like there's probably nothing nicer than knowing that a guy actually read your profile. Because I know I've seen the other side of that. It's like, did you even fucking pay attention? No. I've had women friends complain about that issue with me plenty of times. Not that I've done it, but like, it's, you got
I also like it, and as a trans person as well, it's a thing because people are like, don't read it, and then they find out I'm trans and they freak the fuck out.
As another trans person, I will also back that.
Yeah.
However, I'm of the spectrum. I still get random dick pics. And I will tell you what, if you don't read my profile and that's how you open up, do not be surprised if you get one back. Guess what?
Oh, yeah.
I can do it too.
Now, Kaylee and James, I would like to ask a question. Because we talk about religion and politics, I imagine the trans conversation is something that I don't want to say could be a hurdle, but it's definitely something that needs to be had. Do you find putting that in the profile up front relieves a lot of that angst and concern?
I mention being both trans and poly within like the first 5 messages, only because I wanted to be clear right now. If we are looking to go on a date, this is my situation.
Yeah.
But you don't want to just like be blunt about like, hey, I just want you to know this is what I have going on. And most of the time, a lot of people, even if they're not into it, you know what? I just made a bunch of new gaming friends. I have met more people on Tinder for playing games on Steam with than I've slept with.
Yeah.
So like, be honest about this.
And also like if you're nervous about like if you're not sure if they read your profile and you're nervous about bringing up poly, what I sometimes do if I'm dating someone is I'll mention, oh yeah, my girlfriend, or oh yeah, my boyfriend, and if they question it, then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm poly. And if they want confirmation or something, like I
will say, not that I've used dating profiles a whole lot in the last year or two, but that is something I put in there, and it's certainly alleviated the conversation. Because I want to be absolutely right up front about it. The last thing you want to do is lose friendships or relationships. And Kaylee, to your point, I think it's great. Just because you're not dating doesn't mean you can't meet new people. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and I also put both of those things in my profiles as well.
I do want to say, circling back to when we were talking about opening topics or whatever, I know sometimes when you see someone's profile, you meet someone, and you're not sure what to talk about, or you're not sure how to segue into something. A good joke, not like a dirty joke or a political joke or like a good, wholehearted, like John Mulaney-esque
joke.
Something pure and funny that everyone will enjoy. I mean, would you all agree that sometimes a good joke it makes things less awkward.
I'm really bad at them unless they're a pun. So
I'm good, but they're all inappropriate. So Ray actually brought up a good point. Trans folks should never have to out themselves before dates, but many of us do for our own safety.
Yeah.
It is very important not to imply that trans folks should be required to reveal that any time before they're ready to. And thank you all for not implying that, because I see that so often. Excellent point, Ray. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not something you should have to do. It's not something you have to do. It can make things safer and more comfortable, not for them, but for you, because especially if you can tell they've read your profile, then at least you don't have to like worry about their reactions as much.
Yeah.
Which is why I put it in there. I don't necessarily think it's something that I have to put in or that I should put in. I put it in there for safety reasons as well, and it also helps me meet other trans folk, which is awesome because building community is A+.
Yeah.
Great. Again, I'm circling back to questions.
Mm-hmm.
Try to stay away from personal questions at first.
Yeah.
Like, unless the topic of work comes up, don't just be like, oh, where do you work or where do you live or whatever, because, again, shouldn't have to be said. But
Well, you know,
I think there's different types of personal questions, though.
well, you know, the one thing I will say about that, and because I use it as a conversation starter, but I always preface it, I won't say where do you work, but what I'll say is, may I ask what you do for a living?
which is different.
Right. Because first of all, it's a permission. They can say, I'd rather not say, and I've had that answer, which is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But I find it's a way to open up conversation. So, like, for instance, I am very private about my employer, not because I give a shit about what people think. I just don't want it to get back to my employer. But I tell people, oh, I'm a financial advisor. So that opens a whole world of conversation. I don't have to say who I work for. I don't say where I work. But now we have something to talk about. You know, you can say I'm a doctor, or I work in a production firm, or blah blah blah. So
Yeah, and there's also like something that's maybe introspective personal rather than location or everyday life personal. Like, if you're, especially for messaging, when you've read a profile and you have some idea of things that interest people, you could ask, the big pondering questions. What would you do if you could do anything? What is, or you could ask things like, what's the most interesting thing you learned today? Or what are you most excited for coming up? Or some, just finding something that's maybe not run-of-the-mill everyday question.
So Ray says, when folks say what kind of work they do, a great follow-up question is, do you enjoy it? I've learned so much from folks' response to that question. That'd be great, because I'd love to be like, what do you do for a living? Oh, I work in a restaurant. Do you love it? Fuck no, I hate that shit. Like, that would make for a great conversation. I'd love to hear your horror stories.
Yeah.
Tell me about how you're dead inside.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why did they take your soul?
Oh, but then you started, you said.
Yeah.
Now we're talking a lot about online.
Yeah.
We have a potluck this Saturday, which I won't be at because, I have better engagements.
Wow.
Like rolling dice around a bunch of nerds.
I'm glad we're that important to you.
Yeah, every weekend, Saturdays, planned way ahead.
We just hit double digits, guys. Woo! 10 viewers.
Oh, now we get to 11.
It goes to 11.
Now, okay, we have a potluck coming. We do have other events. We had a meet and greet at Love Drafts.
There's also a meet and greet next Thursday at the gay bar.
I won't be at because I have to work.
Apparently Nathan says we have to do trivia at Love Drafts now.
Yeah.
But let's say we're having a group event and you see someone you really like to get to know. Or maybe even talking online or whatever. If you try to approach that person, don't wait till like completely alone in an ambush room because that's kind of creepy. Waiting till they're like not talking to anybody is one thing, but like someone goes to the bathroom or something and you're just there.
Yeah.
Like there's a difference between when they're alone and when they're like by themselves. There was a difference.
Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes we all make bad calls, it happens, but you can definitely tell someone's intent by how they do it.
Your body language.
Yeah, which I think segues into our another thing we have about, don't follow the same person around.
Yeah.
Oh, please don't.
Don't stalk people.
So I'm going to comment on that. I've my whole life been terrible introducing myself. I've actually had to take classes on proper introductions. It's not something I do easy. One thing I found works really well is If there's someone you want to talk to, and they're with a group of people, like when I'm in a party, I kind of like, I like to work the room. I don't always stand in the same spot very long. So I'll kind of listen in on the conversation. And let's say that, you three are having a conversation, you'll talk about something that kind of, oh, I hear, and I'll kind of work my way over and just kind of stand there and listen and maybe engage in the conversation that way and kind of use that as my into, oh, I really want to talk to Kaylee. And now we've engaged in conversation, but it's a group conversation, so it's not threatening, and it's a way to sort of introduce myself.
Yeah, and if you need to interject yourself into a conversation, like you want to join in on a group conversation, I still can be really awkward at that. I get really nervous when there's a group conversation. I'm not very good at talking to people when it's not one-on-one a lot of the time. So sometimes I'll work my way over, listen for a few minutes, find something I can comment on or relate to, and just be like, oh yeah, that happened to me too, or oh yeah, I just learned about that the other day. Isn't that so cool? Yeah. And try not to like take over the conversation, but like don't mansplain, don't do the, oh, well, but I also know this about a topic that the person's maybe an expert in.
Yeah. We got a question from Steph. So Steph, the meet and greet, we've actually got two things going on. We got the potluck, which is this Saturday night, and then we've got the meet and greet, which is this Thursday night, the 13th. Not tomorrow, a week from tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to remember what time that is. I think it's at 6. But it's at the Brownstone Lounge, which is on Forster Street in downtown in Harrisburg.
It's really gay.
It is literally a gay bar, yes.
How gay is it?
Well, they have a bear flag out front.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Now, I do want to mention the encountering someone by themselves. If you do, for whatever reason it happens, you run into someone by themselves and they are interested, let them go. Do not trap them there.
Yeah.
As someone who's been the person trapped, you don't know how that person's going to react. Because again, at least for us trans folk, that usually means there's impending violence. And some of us like to be the first to strike back. So just let people have an out. If they say no, don't put your arm up and block their path, because
oh God,
you're asking for a bad time for all involved.
And it's also just there's power imbalance.
Yeah.
Like if you have a desire to talk to a person and not be a dick about it, then be aware that there is that imbalance there, and we live in a society where there's, especially for women and marginalized folks, it's a lot of times dangerous. There are a lot of people who don't always have the best intentions or are very creepy. And while that doesn't mean that you are, it does mean that you want to be more cautious, because they've had to deal with enough of that and they're kind of expecting it. So be the sunshine that's just lets them go if they want to go, that like is gentle in your approach in a way that gives them space.
Yeah.
Also, as someone who's guilty of this, don't glare. As someone who is socially awkward, I find it easier to stare from a distance. That's fine for maybe about 10 or 15 seconds. Then get off your ass and introduce yourself, or just ignore. Like, you can't spend a half an hour staring at someone across the room. That's not going to work.
Well, no, I do that to people I'm dating to see if they notice that I'm staring at them, but don't do it to a stranger. Because that goes back to you seem like a stalker.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, you've got people walking in groups away from you, and it's just, again, it's all body language and incessant staring from people you don't know. It never.
That reminded me of a thing we didn't put on here, but don't talk to somebody who has headphones in their ears.
Oh my fucking God! Oh. As someone who lives with headphones in their ears, do not start a conversation. Like, if I want to talk to you, I will not have headphones in my ears. That is me saying I don't want to engage in social interaction right now.
I need to send that clip to my supervisor whenever I'm on break.
Yeah.
Like headphones in, up the way, staring at a screen. Hey,
Well,
like excuse me.
It happens. It happens at work, but that's fine because it is something. It's like, hey, I need to speak to you about something. But I'm talking about,
break,
yeah, like I'm in fucking public, or I'm on the train. It's like, I'm like, what the fuck? Come on.
So I had that happen one time where I basically I was doing homework at a table somewhere with headphones in, and this guy comes up to me. This is also somewhere I worked, but I wasn't on shift. I wasn't in uniform. He comes up to me. He starts he makes me take my headphones out, then starts commenting on, I had a gay shirt on, and he was commenting on the shirt in really negative ways, and then he started saying that this was before I was out as trans, and he started saying really creepy, threatening things about trans folk, and that was a week before I came out at work. So death threat type stuff to trans folks, and that they should be raped and stuff. And then I came out at work a week later, and I was just terrified. But anyway, the point is, don't be that person, but also
I'm sad to have to say that, but yes, it's obviously don't be that person.
But also, if he had just given me space and let me do my homework, I could have done my homework and not had to have been terrified for my life.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know what someone's going through. Just give them their time. If they're not wanting to engage, and also with rejection too. If they don't want to engage, don't take it personally and just move on. Mm-hmm. There are plenty of people in the world, and especially if you're willing to walk away when someone wants you to walk away, you're more likely to have people not want you to walk away.
Yeah, and that speaks volumes. I mean, for all you know, that person who rejected you, maybe, I don't really believe in karma just because I'm a nihilist, and I don't think the universe really has that much order, but, maybe that person you speak to winds up knowing someone who knows somebody who knows somebody that you run into. It's like, oh, yeah, I remember Kevin, and he was really nice, and he took no for an answer, and he's kind of a nice guy. Maybe you should go talk to him. So it comes around.
On that note of letting people have their space, don't tell people to smile out in public if you don't know them.
Oh, God. Or even if you do, unless it's something that established is okay in your relationship. If it's a joking, one woman to another or something like that, joking, who know each other and know it's a joke. Don't do it. Please.
Yeah, that is something that I would have thought by now people would have gotten, but I still get that all the time from men when I look sad. Smile, honey, what's wrong? No, no. And it is okay if someone looks upset for you to ask are you okay? Yeah. But don't tell them to smile.
It's the way it's gone about. If you want to show someone you care, again, don't tell them to just smile. Just show genuine interest.
I'm sending this out to the guys in the audience. We had a great conversation on the K101 podcast, which I also do, a couple weeks ago about feminism. And here's what it comes down to. Before you ask a woman anything, ask yourself this: would I say the same thing to a man? If the answer is no, it's probably sexist and offensive, and don't do it. It's that simple. If you see a man who's upset, would you be like, smile? Come on, don't be sad. Probably not. I'm of course, it's nice to say, hey, it's nice to be polite and all that good stuff. You wouldn't say that to a gentleman, so don't think you can say it to a woman. It's that easy.
Okay, so
speaking of sexist comments, okay, females, do not call femme folk and women and whatnot female. Okay. Because
female is a categorization that is meant as a noun in scientific settings. Otherwise, they're women or they're girls if they're under 18 or whatever. They're not females.
So on on the topic of smiling stuff, Ray made a really good point. Asking if they're okay is showing that you care about them. Telling someone to smile is showing you want them to look appealing to you.
It's true.
It's
a pretty selfish statement when you think about it.
Yeah.
Unless you like taking someone's picture, which is
Well, that's a little different.
Yeah. What else do we have on here?
Everyone say smash the patriarchy.
I recommend a 20-pound shot-filled hammer. No bounce. It comes down, and then you can pull it back out. I'm not allowed to have those at work anymore. Okay. Questions, comments. Oh, okay. You're out or you're on a profile and you see someone who's really attractive, and you think, you know what? I'm gonna cut through all of that red tape, and I'm just going to ask that person if they want to fuck.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
I don't do that.
Either direction. Don't do that. Like, again, start with at least your name. If you're at an event where that's what people are looking for, that's one thing. Still start with your freaking name. If you're on Tinder and it's established that's what that person's looking for, start with your name.
So thank you, Kaylee. One thing I love about our group, particularly the admins and the moderators, is we really come from diverse backgrounds, so we have a lot of experiences that we can share with each other. As someone who has lived through the swinger lifestyle, that is perfectly acceptable in that arena. But we can't cut and paste what is acceptable to that type of arena to the broader area of society. Like, you know, if I was at a swinger party, I would say, hey, we should totally go fuck. And that's custom. It's almost like being in a foreign country. When in Rome, do as the Romans. You don't do that unless you're in Rome. Is what I'm saying.
And kind of like what we had talked about in one of the other podcasts or one of the other live casts about paying attention to the environment. So like it also applies to joining groups and things like that. Pay attention to what kind of how the people interact. What seems to be acceptable, what seems to not be. Look at rules if there are rules for a community. Steph also made the point that with rejection, it can be it's not always personal, and we tend to think it's because someone doesn't find you attractive or appealing or something. A lot of times they're just busy, or they've got something else going on in their life. Or
so Julia likes to remind me on a daily basis the world does not revolve around me, and I'm always surprised to hear that. But yeah, it's not always about you. Maybe there's something going on with that person that you don't know about, so don't take it personally.
I mean, I would say that unless the person was creepy, 90% of the time, if I rejected someone, it is a personal thing. Like, maybe I had too many partners at the time. Maybe I just didn't want to go out because I was too depressed. Like yeah.
And don't try and change the person's mind. Like, let them have the agency to make their own decisions. And try just saying, okay, thanks for talking to me before, and then walk away. Like, don't force someone to continue a conversation. Be grateful that they had a conversation if they're not wanting it to, especially if they're not expecting it to go anywhere, if they're taking the time to talk to you. It's not that they're wasting your time. It's that they find you interesting, or they want to learn about you, or they thought a conversation would be nice. And enjoy the conversation, enjoy the journey. Don't always think about the destination.
And don't assume it's different because it's you. And what I mean by that is if someone says, well, I'm not interested in men, or I'm not interested in a certain profile or a certain type, don't make that classic mistake as, well, that's because you've never been with me. Like, you haven't had it my way. No, don't.
I wanted to.
Did I touch a sore spot? You're kind of gritting your teeth a little.
Yeah, that's one that that happens. People are terrible.
They are terrible. I want to circle back. I forget how I was going to relate to this. Rejections. If you're at a restaurant and your waitress or whoever or waiter is really attractive, understand.
They get paid to be nice to you.
They have to be nice to you so they can get paid. Do not take their niceness
as a sign of
as a sign
Of
of
interest.
confirmation and interest. Okay.
Please don't.
Um,
As someone who worked as a cashier for 10 years, I have to be nice to you or I'll be fired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to be nice to you even if you're a fucking douchebag. Sorry for the cursing, but
Yeah.
I think I've said fuck about 8 times
Yeah.
already. So
Well,
if anyone needs to apologize, it's me.
this also ties into don't trap people. They are trapped there with you.
Yeah, they are. They literally their job.
And I can tell you, I have friends who have done restaurant work from a very young age, and people in restaurants are creepy. Like I have seen,
Yeah, they are.
I have seen people
They
go after
are.
these 15-year-old girls who are waitressing, and I'll tell you what, you want to get your ass kicked by somebody, it'll either be by every other wait person in that restaurant they no longer care, or it'll be by other patrons. I have seen it both ways.
Yeah.
I also, I mean, I've had people smack my butt while I'm working. I've had people grab me and try and kiss me.
It is 100% never okay to touch someone without explicit consent.
So
Just in general, touch. It's not just about sex. Just ask before touching someone.
So there's a video I posted to another group that I'm in last week, and I think I'm gonna post it to our group. There was a study done. Did you guys see the video with Brazilian dresses? Did you hear about this?
No.
Oh, it was fucked up.
Yes, I did.
Yes, I think I may want to post it after we're done with this conversation. Long story short, these scientists built 3 copies of this dress that had sensors all over the body.
Oh, that one.
And they gave it to 3 different women, and they had the women wear the dresses for 4 hours at a club, and they clocked every time they were touched and where they were touched. And on average, for 4 hours, each of these women was inappropriately touched by a gentleman every 4.5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be their back or their head or their butt or their chest or whatever. You don't realize, and I'll say as a man, it was eye-opening. Like, I know my gender has a reputation for being a slime ball, and I didn't realize how bad it was until I saw this. Don't be a douchebag. Just don't do it. You do not have the permission to touch someone without them saying it's okay. You don't have that authority. Don't do it.
Yeah.
And since we've got all this stuff going on with Tumblr and everywhere else, I will also say sex work is not consent.
Oh, yeah, I know.
There is no situation where there's just automatic assumed consent of touch with a stranger. Ask.
Yeah.
As somebody who was a webcam model for a period of time, the amount of people who thought because I am sharing my body with them over a webcam, that meant I automatically wanted to sleep with every single one of them. Surprise, no, most of the time they do not. And it doesn't matter how much money you've given them. If you want to be a jerk and you will find yourself blocked, and you do not get your money back, I'm going to tell you that now. You can say whatever you want about that, but just because they are performing this one thing, and maybe they've talked with you or flirted with you online, same with service workers. That's how they get paid.
Yeah.
It does not mean they are into you.
So Ray brought up an interesting point. I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I just read it, and
yeah,
I was going to bring it up too.
Because I've done that once.
I've done that too.
I'm not sure how I feel about that. I mean, but then again,
So no, if you haven't at all really come out in a way that's being lewd or whatever. I saw this. There was this server who was serving me at Macaroni Grill, and I thought she was really cute, and I was like, it's very unlikely that she's going to contact me. But Macaroni Grill has crayons, so you can draw on your tablecloth.
That's adorable.
So I left my number and just said, "You're cute." And I was like, she'll call if she wants to, right? It's her choice. Entirely her choice. Yeah. I wasn't creepy about it. That's different now. No, she not. She was probably straight or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, as long as you do it in a non-confrontational way, and as long as you're not don't bring it up then if they don't call you when you come back to the restaurant.
Oh, no.
Or maybe just don't go back to the restaurant period, because that would be creepy.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad when I encounter my waitress from one restaurant at another restaurant. You laugh. This just happened to me. My partner and I were talking at our table about how we hope no one from the other restaurant recognizes us. We had the same waitress. She remembered me. Okay? But not for bad reasons, because A, I try to have fun. I know they have a lot of stressful things.
They do.
You know, I will. Jokes abound. Good, clean John Mulaney jokes.
God, how great is John Mulaney?
John Mulaney is a pure, innocent snowflake.
A horse and a hospital.
Did you? So, little side note. So, that Into the Spider-Verse movie.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
You ever seen the commercials for it though?
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays Spider-Ham.
Okay.
He plays the pig. How great is that?
All right. Well, I mean, okay. Well, so again, you might not think, you know, with all the customers they have, that they don't remember you. But all it takes is that one experience. She only remembered me because my dad was there, and my dad likes to fuck with people. Not in like a sexual kind of way, but like he's got the jokes. Okay. If he knows he's upset you, he will apologize. But he likes to mess with people because some people need that distraction.
Yeah.
We've all done service work, you know. So that's why she remembered me, because even though he meant well, I still tipped her a lot of money to have to dealt with him. But again, they remember you. If you were shitty one time, do not be surprised if halfway through your meal next time you have someone different.
And conversely, don't expect them to remember you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It like especially cashiering, something like that. We have people who come through there 10,000 times. I won't remember their name.
Yeah.
Because they're just. I'm there to work.
Yeah.
Working in customer service is a lot like being a teacher. Like if you think a teacher, you have to remember one teacher's name. The teacher has to remember 30 people's names.
Yeah.
It's the same way.
If you're not in Arizona, where there's like 45 people per class, and then there's like 8 classes you're teaching a day, and then like.
Like I know in my job, I deal with 100 clients at any given moment. Over the course of a year, I will deal with north of 1,000 different people. So if John Smith calls me up, I'll be like, yeah, I totally remember you. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy? Like, no, I'm sorry. Don't expect them to remember you.
Even then, I work with 1,400 people. I have people I see every single day. I've talked to them 2, 3, 4 times a week. You ask me to point that person out in the crowd and tell you their name, it ain't gonna happen. Because again, yeah, a lot of times you're there to work, but every now and then, someone remembers you. And for good or bad, if they remember you, well, it's gonna stick.
Ray says customer service is a lot like dying. I would argue dying is less painful.
Yeah. Dying has a release.
Yeah, there's an end to dying.
I do. Speaking of service people and getting rejected, should we talk about how people can handle that sweet iron or that sweet? Yeah, that's death. That's also death. Getting rejected hurts.
It does, big time.
And let's start with the first thing. If someone says no, don't lash out at them. Like. For the love of God. I'm sure you've all seen the cringy pictures on Facebook, like some guy asks a woman out, she says no, and suddenly she goes from being really pretty to
or she's a fucking bitch or whatever.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Also, nobody owes you their time. Like if they don't respond right away, they probably got stuff going on. I know I have a habit, sometimes I won't respond for a week and a half because I need space. I just throw my phone in the corner. No one owes you time. But back to rejection. Don't lash out, because any friendship you might have had at that point, it's gone. And
don't go ahead.
Well, I say it hurts to get turned down, for a date or whatever, but to just have no contact at all is just shitty.
And also, like, don't treat friendships as a consolation prize or as an avenue to a relationship.
Yeah.
I've tried that, and it just leads to
the friend zoning conversation. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Friend zoning is not a thing. Friendship is awesome.
I don't even
Friends
know.
are awesome.
Yeah, right?
Like friends are awesome. Why would you downgrade a friendship and it's not worthy unless it leads to sexy times? Like, and to I mean, the lines are so wibbly wobbly in like okay, so I mean, yeah. So like, what? How you define a relationship? Maybe like all of my relationships, including my romantic relationships, are friendships first. If I want to be around someone, I want to be around them as a friend. I also may want to like be romantically involved with someone, but don't.
So I will say, as someone who has only been polyamorous for relatively the last year, 18 months, and the first 36, 37 of his years, he was strictly monogamous. That was a really difficult concept to understand, because when you're monogamous, like, you enter a relationship with the expectation of romantic interest, and it's different when you kind of develop that friendship first and then it turns into something else. And I think it's actually a lot nicer that way, but it's kind of a foreign concept. But yeah, to your point, friendships are fantastic, and maybe they develop to something down the road, but it's organic, and don't push it. And if it doesn't, well, fine, you got new friends. What do you people want? Making me do shit. All right.
Yeah, we do. Hold on. Wait.
Oh, Ray's got a good point.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Okay.
Ray, you should just be here. I'm just saying, like, I'm tired. Just show up next time. I'm not your personal comment boy. All right.
Why don't you go first?
I actually wanted to address Deborah. Sometimes you don't get it right away, and it might. Again, if you're viewing this as more of it than just I wanna sleep with this person, and maybe it is just a friendship you were maybe trying to turn into something else. Yeah, it might take a couple of days, and it's like it smacks you across the face, like, oh shit, they rejected me. So I'm gonna flip this. If you reject someone, try to make it clear, as polite as possible. Don't make. I mean, let them down lightly, but not so lightly that they don't realize it, because that's just as douchey.
I do that. I've done that in the past. I don't do it anymore.
And let me also say, though, in response to that, if you don't feel safe letting them know, that's okay too. Like, I mean, there have been situations like where I've had to. There are times when people don't feel safe giving a straight out blunt no. Like, this is maybe not a dating situation, but I had someone I knew got really drunk one time and was doing some pretty awful things, and I had to like stand between them and their kid, because they were completely out of control, piss ass drunk, and like beating their kid, and I had to like call the police and all this stuff, and they're like, everything's okay between us, right? And I'm like, I couldn't say no because there's violence going on, but I also so there are times when saying no is maybe not an option. Yeah. Like, and some people have dealt with trauma, and they may not know how to speak up super well on that thing. So, like, listen for the no's when you approach someone too. Yeah. Listen for the subtle no's, and be willing to accept them even if they're not explicitly spelled out, because not everyone is comfortable with that, especially in our culture where women have to deal with violence constantly.
Yeah, and I wanted to go back to what Ray said, which was about if you lash out at somebody in a poly circle, and suddenly it's harder to get a date because you lashed out or you talked shit about your ex or something, then
because poly circles are small.
Yeah. Like, and just I definitely feel like that's accurate. I mean, James is my ex, and we're like best friends. Yes. I don't know how to not be friends with people, but like it's definitely like obviously if they were like abusive or something, So I just want to put that disclaimer there. But like, if it's just that, like you just fell apart and like broke up because breakups happen, then yeah.
This and we see this in the kink community as well. That's the flip side of having sort of a small community. You're very tightly knit, which is great because you can build friendships and relationships. But you need to, I don't want to say be careful, but don't act like a douchebag because it can come back to bite you because it is such a small, close-knit relationship.
I almost that. Yeah, every community like that. The poly community, trans community. If you're just nasty to one person, and it doesn't matter how, it will always come back to bite you within that environment, as we are currently dealing with.
Yeah.
Because you might not remember that bad, nasty thing you did. And you know what? Okay, fine. Everyone else will.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you might think that everyone has forgiven you and moved on, and you think, I'm going to approach these people, be their friend again, and you will be very confused as to why suddenly all these people are asking you about that one time you were just a straight up asshole, and that's how people see you. How does that work for, like, you have one bad, your business has one bad review, 1,000 people see it.
Oh yeah.
One good review, and like 10 people will see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Communities, small close-knit communities work the same way.
People love to spread shit. I'm just saying, we're way more likely to spread bad news than good news.
Yeah.
And I'd also say, if you do something awful and someone calls you out on it, accept responsibility. Like, they're more willing to forgive you if you don't dismiss it. If you like make a mistake, you say something mean to someone because you're having this really bad day and everything's going wrong, and you just lash out kind of sideways at someone. And they're like, dude, that wasn't cool. Accept it. Say, oh, I'm so sorry. I've had a really rough day. That wasn't cool of me. I apologize. Take responsibility for things, and people may be willing to forgive you, and they may not. If they don't, that's their choice. They don't have to forgive you. They're not obligated to reconcile with you.
So much of this is acknowledgement of mistakes and apologies. We had a great conversation on the K101 podcast a couple weeks ago about pronouns, and what I was trying to relate to the audience and the team is there's a big difference between, I don't understand why I have to use a specific pronoun versus, oh, I apologize, I made a mistake, I used the wrong pronoun, I'll make sure to do it right going forward. Like, the latter is way easier to move forward with.
Yeah.
If you make a mistake about anything, if you hurt someone's feelings, first off, they're entitled to be upset. They're entitled to their feelings. No one has to forgive you. If you want someone to forgive you, acknowledging and apologizing will go a long way. You find most people are very forgiving if you're willing to fess up, realize you made a mistake, and say, I'm sorry, I will do my best not to do that going forward.
And especially if you have a plan to change.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And don't say you're going to do it and then don't do it.
And on that note, just because you fess up doesn't mean that person is going to change your mind.
Exactly.
Don't. I don't want to.
I said I was sorry.
Yeah.
Don't be that person. Yes.
Don't think your apology is going to change that person. Don't make it your goal to change that person's mind just because you were a shitty person. Because you know what? They don't have to forgive you, and they might not. They might never.
And
the fact,
give them their agency.
Yeah. And the fact that they still talk to you sometimes should be considered a blessing. Again, because small, tight-knit community, rejection hurts, and you want to just say nasty things and do nasty things. We all have that moment where it's like, you know what? This person hurt me. I want to hurt them back. Don't be that person. It's just, you're going to have a bad time. They're going to have a bad time. Your bad time will last a lot longer. It doesn't matter. Just don't do it.
Yeah, and this is sort of circling back to rejection and friend zoning a little bit. But so as a person who for a long time, because of like trauma and shit, didn't know how to relate to people without sex. Yeah. I had a really hard time with rejection, And I still have issues with what's the difference between a friend and a crush, because like the lines like really blur for me. But I've taken some time to take a step back and realize that like I can personally be comfortable with having a crush on somebody and then still being friends with them, because the friendship is more worth it to me than like just being like that guy that like we're freaking out and ruining everything. It just like friendship is important, and you want to be able to like still have platonic friends. So like just taking a step back is really eye-opening.
And romantic relationships end sometimes. Friendships are oftentimes more, at least in my own life, I'd say friendships are something that I have friends that I've known since 2nd grade. I don't have any romantic relationships that have lasted that long. I mean, I have friends since I was 6 years old. That's 22 years. I've been friends with some of these folks, and
People are making me feel old. Go on.
and and like and those are people I'll probably be friends with, whether they're common friends or friends in some form with, until day I die. I mean, and well, I may also have romantic relationships. My friendships are those people are the people who stand by me no matter what. Whether something goes bad, whether something goes good, they're there to cheer my successes. They're there to be there for me when I'm having a terrible day, and I'm there for them too. There's reciprocation in friendship and durability. I feel like there's more durability in friendship than sometimes in romantic things. And sometimes if the romantic thing is based on mutual connection and friendship, it can also have that durability. But I feel like the durability for romantic relationships almost kind of comes from the durability of friendships rather than the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
So Ray brought up an excellent point about rejection. If someone lashes out at you in what may be seen as an inappropriate or extreme response, try not to obviously take that personally, and try to be considerate as far as their situation, because they may be going through stuff that you're not aware of. So the example I like to use is this. I used to jockey a register at Giant, and I would have to deal with like 100 shitball customers a day. And by the end of my shift, I would deal with shitball customer number 100, and they would do something stupid, and like I feel like I would just lose it. And it wouldn't be because shitball customer 100 did something stupid. It was the culmination of shitball customers 1 through 100. Number 100 just got the brunt of it. So if you face an extreme reaction from someone, it's probably not you. You are, for lack of a better term, you're just the straw that broke the camel's back. You were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. You just did something that 99 other people did right in front of you, and congratulations, now you got to deal with it. So just try to put that in perspective. It probably wasn't personal. It was just you pulled the unlucky number.
Consider what you might have done, but also if you don't think if there's nothing there, walk away and just let it be. Don't take it personally.
I'm going to, I was going to move on to another topic here, which, with the most awkward transition possible to make this topic more relatable. Now, we've been talking a lot about, men who are going after women a lot. Though sometimes there are women who like women. I know it's weird. It happens.
Or envy folks.
What?
Or envy folks.
Yeah, or just non-masculine people. It does happen. Non-male identified people. It does happen. I know. Weird, crazy world we're living in.
Mike Pence is crying right now.
Yeah, good. There's a joke in the I guess the lesbian and women attracted communities, that two women dating is them just awkwardly talking to a friend about how they're attracted to the other one and asking if that person is interested without ever actually talking to one another.
Yeah.
And you know, I say it's a joke. It's not. It's not a joke at all. I know this because this is actually an autobiography. But this could just be from my awkwardness as a trans person and not always wanting to have to go like, oh, hi, by the way.
No, I have a really hard time talking to women.
Yeah, that's because, you know, women are cute. And when you're both cute, it's just, you know, you're cute, you know, they're cute. It's just, you're afraid. A lot of this still reigns true. I know there's the whole, you know, just gals being pals trope.
Oh God.
For women who are looking to date other women specifically, or non-binary folks, make your intentions explicitly clear.
Oh God, yes. Like, yes, homo, so much homo.
Yes.
No, I'm not just saying you're cute. I like.
What's that
like
meme? It's like,
you.
it's hard saying you're cute. Like, no, I mean like homo cute. Like, I want to be on you.
I
Cute.
agree with you. I think you're attractive.
Homo intended.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the way women interact with women, again, I'm using this as a generic term, the way non-masculine folk interact with non-masculine folk is a lot different. The way society is coded is a lot different. Where it's expected you're going to compliment each other's, you know, everything. So it's not explicitly seen as flirting. So you need to make that very clear.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm flirting with you right now. Would you like to get coffee? You two are laughing. This is how I ask people out.
No, I'm laughing because I get it.
Yeah. And also, like, this kind of segues back into rejection. So I personally will not just flirt with random women because I am terrified that they're actually straight and that is going to be a bad interaction.
Gross.
Where they, you know, like say some bigoted shit. So I just avoid that altogether and only flirt with women in communities where I know it's going to be like, okay. But if it happens to you and you go out and you do, like as a woman or a femme person, flirt with another woman and they do respond in a bigoted way, I feel like dealing with that kind of rejection is a whole other ballpark from what the other thing we were just talking about.
On that note, as a trans woman, the amount of times I've introduced myself to someone and they read my profile and their first question to me is, have you had the surgery? Guess what? Any chance of me being interested in you is now gone unless you give me the $70,000 required for that. That is not your business unless we are and this goes just for any trans person you're interested in, unless you are actively dating and sleeping with that person, or you are their medical care provider. That is not your business.
And only if the things that you're caring for them for involve their genitals.
Yes. Okay. I actually have a story about that.
Same.
21. I had all the symptoms of a heart attack. Quickest route through ER I've ever had was great. They get back there.
Also didn't die. That was also cool. Like that part.
I get back there and they're like, oh, what meds do you want? I'm like, you know, I'm on estrogen, da, 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 da. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, what's that for? It's like, oh, I'm trans. And there were two questions that followed that are guaranteed to make me hate you. A, have you had this surgery? And B, what do you think of Caitlyn Jenner? I am in extreme pain. I am hooked up to an IV and like 5 other pieces of equipment. And this is what you want to ask me? Really? I'm not saying. Okay, I'm going on a rant here. Again, if you see someone and maybe they mention they're trans or whatnot, they're still human beings. And just, we don't always want to talk about the surgery. We don't want to talk about what it's like being trans all the time, contrary to what people think.
Also,
You have a life outside your genitals.
the surgery is not a thing. Just saying. The surgery, there's no one surgery.
What?
Not everyone gets surgery. Not everyone wants surgery. There's like 15 different surgeries that people can have.
Those are trans trade secrets. Right now, give me a card. Yeah, so we're still people. We don't. We I love my poly. We don't want to We deal with this all the time. Don't be that person.
Yeah.
And if you think someone is trans, they could, they have their hair cut a weird way or the way they wear their clothes. Don't assume they are, and open with that question. Because I have cis female friends who have had that, and let me tell you what, the conversations get weird. Because when they explain that they're not trans, the person eventually backpedals and has to explain why they thought that.
And then if you are assuming someone's trans and they are, you are just forcing them to out themselves, which is not cool.
Yeah.
And it might not be safe. And so either they have to lie or do something that may put them in danger. Don't be that person.
Just to take it back to dealing with that rejection, though, I feel like, the first thing to do after that is like make sure that you're safe, and like I don't even have tips for when that happens, for like try to walk away. Like,
no, I'm not going to do that.
don't tell people to punch people.
I think it's small
I know
stun
you're
gun,
thinking about
but
it.
yay long, it's barbed, and if you're violent,
There will be
suddenly-
punching.
Well, no, I don't punch with it. It's just barbs that hooks on your clothes. So when you go, when I say you go.
So okay. So as someone who's dealt with a lot of unsafe situations and a lot of bigotry, and who generally has the freeze react rather than the fight react, I would say one thing to do, especially if you're going to approach someone and you're worried about bigotry, one thing that I would do is maybe, this is the thing I did for hypervigilance because I have PTSD, but when I would go into a place, I'd be aware, do I know a lot of people there? Do I have someone I can retreat to if something goes wrong? Do I get a feel for the mood of the room? Like, it sucks that oftentimes that you would even have to think about these things, but make sure you're safe, both before you approach and once you've approached. If there's a bad reaction, try to take care of yourself. You matter, and nothing is worth that kind of danger. Like, well, not okay. A date is not worth danger, especially like that. I mean, there's always some level of danger, but take care of yourself.
As someone who is not privy to this concept, because I've never had to deal with it, the way it's sort of been explained to me is like, I have a good friend who's a former Marine, and he tells me that whenever he goes in a restaurant, like, he always assumes he's under attack, so he has to know where all the exits are at all given time.
Yep.
So it's kind of that concept.
Actually, no, it's
Back to-
exactly that concept.
Okay, thank you for validating my analogy. Back to the wall. Where are the doors? Where are the
Yeah.
exits?
Yeah, the things I'm always
Who do I
aware
have to
of,
take out if I need to get through?
where are the exits?
Are there children I can use as human shields?
Oh my God. So where are the exits? How many people do I know? What's the mood of the room? What's on the TV? Like, is it Fox News? If it's Fox News, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna hide. And be very quiet. Or just try and get out of there. Like just kind of being. It really sucks that people feel like they have to be this aware, but it's a thing.
So, like, I think that, like, that's pretty, like, women approaching other women and femme folks was, like, the last thing on our little list. Does anybody have specific questions about any of this stuff?
Will there be a test later? The test is going to be in real life. Yeah, you will. No, seriously, you will encounter these situations at some point, so I hope we've all been taking notes.
Yeah,
I have not.
if you don't pass, you get banned from the group. I mean, it's that simple. I mean, It's like the Hunger Games, but with poly stuff. So instead of us all killing each other, we all just date.
And then we walk you down the street and shame, and you all Game of Thrones stuff.
Tar and feathers.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, that I think it's the wrong group for your kink stuff.
Have you tried it? You should try it. You might like it.
I'm sorry.
Shame.
I'm a pure vanilla person.
No.
I only do the intercourse under portraits of Jesus for procreation.
Wow.
Steph says there are no ex-Marines, only Marines. Absolutely true. You're right. Absolutely true.
As someone who, yeah, I'm not going to get into the military rivalry thing now.
Yeah, let's not do that.
I can tell you my Army Marine joke later. My dad was 24 years U.S. Army.
Do you mean the Marines? That's the joke? Anyway, I'm going to piss off a bunch of people. I think we've covered most of the topics that we had.
Yeah. I didn't talk about mansplaining.
We did touch on it.
Did we touch on it?
No,
Okay.
Very lightly.
I noticed that was the one thing that we kind of glossed over.
Do I need to mansplain?
Let's do it. We'll start. And then
So here's the thing.
You interrupt us and then tell us all about a subject that we are already knowledgeable
you
about.
started wrong. It starts with, well, actually.
Yeah.
Actually.
Where does the mansplainer get his water?
So the general gist of that is don't do that. If a woman tells you that she has a PhD in biology, don't then start talking about like basic anatomy like she doesn't know. Oh my God.
I saw something very funny. I forget her name. She's an astronaut. She's got her PhD in a vast array of fields. Was talk about space and how things work. And this guy told her that, no, that's not how things work in space.
Yeah.
She is completely wrong, and then proceeded to tell her why she was wrong. She had a PhD in astrophysics.
Yeah.
This conversation became one of the favorite things she's ever had because she likes to share it with people, and she does not block his name. Don't be that guy.
Yeah.
Unless you are both experts in your field, or maybe
you
are an expert and she's not, but there's a way to do it.
Yeah, and you know, I have conversations with people all the time, and I do have conversations with the guys in my life that I'm dating with Nate or with George, and it'll be a topic that I'm more educated on, but there is a way to approach it that I feel is respectful. And, you know, saying like, okay, I don't really know as much about this as you, but can you clarify if this is true for me or something like that? Just giving the respect to her that she is educated in that topic.
Or something to the effect of, oh, it sounds like you know a lot about that topic. I've heard blah, blah, blah. Can you shed some light on that information, or can you tell me, is that true? Or, you know, deferring to them and acknowledging, you know, that they're smart and they have qualities other than, you know, nice hair and big boobs. So
yeah, and if you want to like talk about some fact you learned about a thing because it's just like really exciting to you, you can say something like, oh yeah, I love this, I love XYZ topic. Like I just learned this really cool thing. And I'm really excited about it. Isn't that cool? You know, can you know more about this? Can you tell me more about this? This is so fascinating to me. Okay, what am I missing?
we're talking about cats.
I'm
missing that?
I'm not going to reply to that question, as the way I would frame my response would not be appropriate for all audiences.
I'm actually disappointed because Ruckus like disappeared. He was here when we had pizza. And then
Steph asked if you're asking if you can show someone photos of your cat. Is it appropriate to ask if they want to see your pussy? Asking for a friend.
I would say if it's a new person, probably not. Although there are a lot of guys you will get with that hook. They'll be very disappointed.
I am one of those guys, by the way. Just saying. I make no qualms or mistakes about it.
You will get some disappointment. That does go back to opening with mood comments, but you know, if it's someone you've got a repertoire with, show them whatever you want, as long as it's okay. Always show pictures of your cat.
Cats. Yes.
I need to get a hair.
Cats. No. No. All cats are beautiful except those monsters.
Hey.
No one wants Golem cat in the house.
I do.
No.
Exactly.
Does anybody have any other
All
questions?
cats are
Yes, because also my laptop's running out of battery, so
Yeah.
this thing's gonna shut off whether we want it to or not at some
Yeah,
point.
we can take questions now. Speak now, forever hold your whatever.
Nice. Apparently Nathan also wants a hairless cat.
I mean, yeah.
All the whole group wants a ball sack cat. Apparently, so.
I'm telling you, that's the modern trend. Is
It's funny because one of my partners is crazy allergic to cats. I feel like I should get her one so she can both enjoy cats and not have to because they're hypoallergenic. They don't have. Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, well, this conversation took an interesting turn.
So yeah, let's circle back to always share pictures of your cat.
Yes.
You'll never go wrong. Has anyone asked any questions?
No,
we still want
actually,
cats.
Ray said one thing.
Ray doesn't count.
No, yeah.
So Ray said another cool thing, not quite about mansplaining, but you can actually ask people what is and isn't okay with them particularly. Like I've had folks ask me early on, are you okay with sexual conversation early on or no? And that was so cool. I appreciated them actually checking in instead of diving.
Oh, I would appreciate that so much if people did that.
Yes.
That is good.
I think that's a great comment, Ray. As someone who is, I'm just gonna blame this on my Asperger's. As someone who doesn't read social cues well, but also who is sick and tired of bullshit and red tape, like I very much like to get direct and to the point. I don't like to pussyfoot around issues. So if someone were to say, hey, can we talk about X? I'm going to say either yes, absolutely, or no, I'm not ready, and then we just move on. Like I don't like this whole fucking social dance that we have to do.
Yeah.
Also, I don't mean it, but your reaction this entire time, watching your face has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
You have the second best reaction to something I've seen. The first was when I saw Avenue Q, and there were these two very large, heavy-set black guys. When everybody's a little bit racist came on, I did not know what they were getting.
So my
into.
company now and then will do day trips to New York City to see a show.
Oh, God.
Employees can bring their kids, and they went to go see Avenue Q. And it was an all-ages show, and it even said, it was like, oh, by the way, it may not be best for younger children. I'm like, it's not good for any kids. Like, as someone who has seen that show, like, no, it's like an R-rated,
Oh, yeah.
borderline NC-17. I mean, you see Muppet boobs. There is Muppet nudity in that play.
There's more than Muppet
Yeah.
nudity.
Yeah, there's Muppet pornography.
On that note, do we have any other questions, or are we just going to talk about
No.
Muppet sex?
So there was something that Ray said that I really liked that made me laugh. Have you had the surgery? Why, yes, I had my tonsils out when I was 12, and now I'm a real boy.
Oh, is that how that works?
I hope
Ain't
not.
got
Because
strings
I'm not
on
a real
me.
boy.
Neither am I.
I still have my tonsils. What does that mean?
I understand.
I'm
got
learning
mine
these
now,
things
so.
about myself that I'm not comfortable with now.
So I don't have anything else. You?
No?
I think we're good.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you. See you in 2 weeks.
Poop.
Yay.
Oh, it doesn't automatically end.
Nope.
Awkward.